Hi, today we're going to publish our Despia Android application to the Google Play Store in just a few clicks using our one-click deployment. Now, this is a new feature that we have just added with the release of version 3 that allows you to now finally, from the Despia editor without the need to open Android Studio, one-click publish your application and we manage everything for you, but you will still have access to all the source code if you want to, your key store, you can even bring in your existing key store and all that. But if you don't know, for example, what a key store is, you don't have to worry about it because we take care of that for you, but you still gain your whole ownability and you keep all your intellectual property. We're not gatekeeping that from you, meaning you can migrate off Despia anytime, because with Android it's a little bit more crucial compared to iOS. Whoever owns your key store owns your application. And with Despia, we have the ability now to generate that Android key store for you, but you can export it at any time. That's what we suggest you anyway, to have that as your backup. So this is a wonderful technology. We're making all those things that are complicated with Android easy for you by running it for you, but on top of that, you keep the ownability that you like and that you're used to with Despia. So let's get right started. So right now I'm in the Despia editor and I have already configured an Android application. Now in this video I'm going to assume that you already know how to configure your application in the Despia editor, but if you need help for that, take a look at our videos on how you can get your project started, and if you need any further help, feel free to click on customer support and we're here to help you 24/7. Now, as you can see, I already got my icon uploaded for iOS and, very important for this video, for Android, because Android actually scales in on the icon a little bit because it's a round icon. So you want to make sure that you have about 40% more safe space, but we also give you a real-time preview here. You also want to upload your splash screen, which I already have inside of here, and then, do any configuration that you may need for your Android application, like one signal for GDPR compliant push notifications or any of our other hard-coded functionalities, as you can see, with the colors and some of the link handling. Now, if you're wondering where do I get all the native features, they're actually part of our integrations, which, those are things that you add into your web application source code, so you don't have to worry about, for example, setting up your application to work with native contact access or something like this. This is already, something that you can do after you have published it to the store. That's the wonderful thing about Despia. It gives you over-the-air updates, truly over-the-air updates, not kind of like with React Native where you kind of like have to publish it to get it out there. In Despia, whatever is on your main branch of your application, without any publishing process, without going through the editor, it will immediately be updated. So you can fix your UI and you can fix all that kind of stuff without having to go through the Play Store approval process again, which is a pretty neat feature. But with that being said, let's continue with the publishing process here. Now, in order to get our application published, we need to either click on device testing or publish app. Those two buttons do the same thing. We just added that device testing button because publishing it to the Play Store console will be the gateway to also have some internal native beta testing functionality. So, in this example, I'm going to click on any of those buttons, publish app, and, then you select Google Android. And from here, we can now start the setup to get our application going. Now, every Android application needs to have a key store. If you are already having an existing key store, you can simply import that key store into Despia and we can, kind of like keep signing your application on your existing key store if you already have that application on the Google Play Store. Now, if you do have an existing key store and an existing application and you want to move your tech stack to Despia, you will need to adjust your bundle ID. And in order to do that, you can kind of like click on Get Free Expert Help and you can contact our support team to request that you want to, kind of like import your bundle ID, and we will be able to manually do that for you just so, because we don't want people to change the bundle ID after the app has been signed, because that can kind of like break the whole CI/CD pipeline that we set up for you. So that's why that is kind of like a manual process, right? If you want to import that, but we got super fast response times within at less than a day. You got that all imported, and we will help you every step of the process. So let's close this here. And in this example, I'm starting out with a new application. So I would generate a key store if you want to import your existing key store, or if you want to generate your own key store, because maybe, you say, it's such an important thing, I'd rather generate that myself in Android Studio. You shouldn't generate anywhere outside. There are websites generate key stores. I wouldn't trust them. I would either trust the Despia key store or the one directly from Android Studio if you are able to generate that yourself, or you have someone who is able to do that for you. So you could import your existing key store. You'll need to put your key store password, your alias password, and your application alias, and then upload your key store. And then we will actually validate if that key store is correct. We have some functions in there to validate that authenticity. And if it is correct, if the password matches, right, we will validate if you're the correct owner of that key store, if you have all the passwords and everything. Only if you pass that validation, you'll be able to bring in your existing key store into Despia. If you don't, that means you're not the owner of the key store, and then you can go back and generate the key store for your application, right? So in this example, I'm starting out with a new application. So I'm clicking on generate, and we're now automatically generating a key store for this application. It can take a few seconds. It's running this right now on our cloud infrastructure for you. And there you go, I just generated my key store. And you can take a look, the key password and the key alias are actually the same. We kind of like have a very simple way of handling that if you use it, but it's still compliant and capable with all other ways how you could use a key store. Despia actually assigns one key store per application that you use in it. Normally, if you were to go with ordinary Android development, you would have one key store per organization, and then you can have multiple apps in one key store. But because we want to make it simple for you to export it, Despia generates one key store per application, so you can just always export it and then bring it into, Flutterflow or Expo, or, if you ever want to use something else later down the road. You can also, with one click, export your key store, and you got it right inside of here, and you can open that in Android Studio, and you can save that as your backup, and that is always available to you. So now we have a key store. This means our application now has this unique password, this unique key. Make sure to not lose it. If you lose this key store, you will not be able to update your application anymore. So your application is kind of like set to die on that Google Play Store. Also keep in mind that the key store can only live, I think, for 99 years. So Despia automatically issues the maximum length that is available to us for that key store. After 99 years, if your business is still running, you would need to go through a process, in case Google still exists in 99 years, to kind of like, reissue a key store for your application. But I think we will have more information as those 99 years get closer to the first applications being developed and published. But there are already ways how you can recover that. And if you need help with that, feel free to contact our support, and we can guide you through that process and set that up together with you. So you can close that here. And now we have that key store, meaning we have this signing signature for our application, which is important. Despia automatically stores that for you, but I would still suggest to always keep a copy. That is very important. But you can, download that at any given time if you ever want to. Whoever owns that key store owns the application, and we make that available to you. And the last thing is we need to have an Android development team. Now, I already have one, but the cool thing with Despia is you can have as many development teams as you want. Just make sure that you never change the development team that is assigned to the first build of the application. If you do, please contact us so we can, help you troubleshoot that, because the app will be already signed on your first development team. So there are some things that you need to reset up if that's the case. But I'm assuming that you're just starting out with your first application in this video. So now we need to add a new developer account. So in this example, I'm going to add a new developer account, and now I need to generate that Google service account. Now, how do I generate that Google service account to get our native Google Play Store integration set up? It's very simple. You can go to Google Cloud, and I assume this is probably your first time using Google Cloud. So you want to go click on here, and you want to create a new project. It will say probably something like create new project here. And then you create a new project. This is the project for Despia, for your use case. So you can have as many apps run under one project, right? If you're developing for clients, you could have one project, or your client could have one project for all their apps. So you don't need to create one project per application. You can build that application under one project account, and you can build as many apps that are in your Despia account under one project. So if you have 15 apps on your Despia account and they're all for yourself, you probably only want to have one account linked onto all of those apps, if that makes sense, right? So let's call this Despia project, and I'm going to name this Android V3 tutorial, because that way I know what this is about. Android tutorial. Oh, let's do Despia V3 Android tutorial. There you go. And then I can just create this. And now, as you can see, it's generating that new project. And then I can select this project here, or I can go up here and select that appropriate project. And now within this project, we want to go to IAM and admin. And under IAM and admin, we will get some things that allow us to set certain things up. We will need to go to service accounts. There you go. And now we will need to create service account. And then we need to give this service account a name. I'm just going to call it Despia projects. There you go. You can name it whatever you want. And then we could add a description, but that's optional. Let's create and continue. Now we need to grant this service account a role. I'm going to click inside of here, and I'm going to type in service. I'm going to type in service account. Okay, service account user, right? There you go. Service account user. So this will allow Despia to use your Google Cloud that is tied to your Google developer account. So also make sure that the Google account you're creating this on is the same account that you use to create your Google Play developer account. But in this example, I will have my service account user here, and that's the role that you need to give Despia in order to do those things on your behalf, to sign your application, and to process those things. So now let's continue. And now we can skip the last step. We don't need to do that. So now I'm going to get this service account email, which we want to copy that, but we don't need it right now, but we need to have that for future reference. So now I can click on the service account, and I can go under keys here. And this is where you will be able to add or generate that API key that will allow Despia to access your Google account and, kind of like publish an application for you. So you need to go on add key, and you do create new key. That will be JSON, and we will create this. Now it downloaded that key, so I'm going to move that to my desktop, and you want to save that key. That is very important because you won't be able to download that again once you have it downloaded. So with Android, you got lots of things to save and to back up. So you keep that, you keep those at your resources. So now with that, we want to go and upload JSON, and we're going to move it right inside of our upload. And then we can go on done, and now you can see we can click on link with Google. I will click on link with Google, and now as you can see, we have this Despia V3 Android tutorial service account right inside of here. There you go. Beautiful. So now this is our new integration that we have just created. So now under this, we need to actually do one more step, and most people forget this. So this is very important. We need to click on Manage Integration here on this button. And as you can see, it will open a page that will say, that will have our appropriate a Despia service account that is linked to your Google developer account, to your Google Cloud account. There you go, that is linked to it. It will say Google Play Android Developer API. You need to click on Enable, because most people just try to publish your app now and then you'll get an error. So what you need to do is you need to click on Manage Integration. This will go to the appropriate page. Also, make sure that in your Chrome browser, if you're using Chrome, you're logged in with your developer account. If you're logged in with your personal account in Chrome, it will try to open this page on your personal account, because Google always tries to log you in with the account that's related to Chrome. So make sure that when you're working with Despia, you are opening Chrome, and on the Chrome level, you're logged in with your developer account that's linked to your Google Play developer account. So this link, this button, this integration button will work and open the appropriate integration with the quick link, so that you just have to click on Enable and you're good to go. And now we click on Enable. It will now configure this. If you don't do this step, it will fail. So this is very, very, very important. Now, there you go. We got this nicely set up. And as you can see, we can also now track some of the analytics, some of the behavior that Despia is doing on our account, if you ever want to take a look at that. So now we got this connected. This is great. And now the next step will be clicking on Publish Project. Make sure we have this appropriately selected, right? And we will publish our project. And now, while this is running and publishing the project, we actually need to set up one last thing, because we need to give our Google Service account permission on our Google Play Console account. We need to give it the permission to publish and to automatically update that apps once you have the AAB manually uploaded in the first place. So it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. So what we want to do is we want to go back on IAM and admin, and we can go on our service accounts. Make sure you're in the right project. Most people go to a wrong project, or they're logged in on their personal account and they can't find it. So make sure you're logged in into your developer account and you're on the right project. But now you see this email. This is very important. We need to copy this email, and we need to now go inside of Google Play Console, as you can see inside of here, and we need to go to Users and Permissions. Now, under Users and Permissions, I will need to go and create a new user, and I will need to put the email address inside of here. There you go. And then I will need to go Account Permissions. I will make this admin, and that should be all. I'm not setting any expiry date because we do not need that. So now I can invite the user, and I will send the invite. So this will now send the invite to the Google developer account. So now, as you can see, I got Despia projects, Despia v3.android tutorial. That's the service account that we have generated. And there you go. So now what we will need to do once our application is successfully built, we would need to add the application that, should have access to that account. And, right now we cannot do that because this application is not created yet. So we will just keep this page open, and, after we've made it admin, we will need to now assign the app that this account should have access over manually to it. Now, if you have this account already, let's say it's already set up in Despia, and you will create a new application, and you will use your existing connection because you want to use the same service account to build and sign that application, what you would need to do is you would need to go exactly to the screen again, to the existing connection, click on Add App, and add that new application to it. That will be the step right after this video. So the step right here is something you want to do all the time whenever you add a new application, but you already have that account that you want to sign it under connected to it. There you go. So now, in the meantime, we can take a look at, Despia's process here. We can see a nice little preview here, how it's building our application. It's actually building this on a Mac M2, and it's powered by Apple Silicon. It has prepared the M2 build machine, and now it's building the application for you in Android Studio. So you don't need to touch any of the code. We handle that all automatically using our cloud hardware for you. Now keep in mind, this build process can sometimes take up to an hour, depending on how many people are trying to use the resources at the same time. So just give it some time. I'm just going to pause this video for now, and then once we have an update on that in the Despia dashboard, you will also get an email once it's done. We will take a look at that together. It will be a very quick cut for you right now, and then we'll continue with the process. See you in a second. I got great news. It was now successfully built. The panel disappeared, and now as you can see, we got this this widget here, which will help us do the connection between our application and the Play Store. Now we have the service account already in place that will connect this is the first integration you will do when you're new to Despia. This will kind of like connect Despia with your Google account, right? For every project that you create and in it that should be assigned under that account. But now we need to actually connect it with the Play Store so, we can get it on there. Android does not have a principle or, a system like Apple where you just, assign the bundle ID, you generate it on their system. Android actually wants you to upload the app, and they will take the information from the app to then assign that app and app name into their system. So the way we need to do that is we need to go on download app, right? And now we will download the application. This will now download the AAB. This is the Android app bundle right inside of here. You can also download it from here if you want. And then we need to go on view integration, and we need to make sure that this integration here, also that you're logged in, says API enabled. Otherwise, the publishing process will not be successful. If you encounter any issues with that, please feel free to, contact our customer support, and we're more than happy to help you every step of the way. So now with this AAB downloaded right, and we have it now on our desktop that was downloaded right here, we can now go to the, to a new tab here, opening the Google Play console, and we're going to go back to home. In the meantime, let me just save the changes. There you go. Perfect. We can now go back to home. And now under home, I'm just going to create a new app. And I'm going to put the app name right inside of here. And that app name will be Profit Dog. There you go. And now we can go on it's an app, and we can say it's free or whatever is true for your application. You will, accept some of the policies or not accept them. That's up to you. We will now create that app in the Google Play console. Okay, it's loading a little bit. There you go. It's loading. So we need to be a little bit patient here. And now we are in our application. Beautiful. So now we want to go to test and release, and we want to go on testing, and we want to do internal testing, right? This is kind of like what compares to test flight, if you're familiar with the iOS process. But we want to always start with internal testing and then move our application from internal testing to production later on, to kind of like have a nice development pipeline with strong testing and all of that. And then you would move it from internal testing, if you like it yourself and your team likes it too, this is for you and your team, to open testing. You can create a public beta link, and then once that is good, you can then move it to the Play Store where people can just search for it and download it. But let's start with internal testing. Let's create a new release. And now we can just simply upload this file right inside of here. And it will take a little bit. And while it does, we can give this a release name. I can say initial upload. There you go. Initial upload. Let's do V1. There you go. And then you could, put some release notes in there if you want. Now, as you can see in the meantime, it's optimizing this app bundle, and we're good on that now. So now we can go on next. And now it's creating this internal release. And that is very cool. So now this internal release is here, but we will get some warnings. It will say your app cannot be published yet. Complete these steps listed on the dashboard. Now, what we need to do, even in order to test our application appropriately, we need to continue a series of steps. If I were to save and publish, it will probably go through because it's internal testing. Yeah, but it will still not go through if we want to now move it to the Play Store. Because if you go to Publishing Overview, you will see that there are some steps to complete. You can go to the dashboard and Google will give you a to-do list, a big to-do list of all the things that you need to set up. So now we're actually going to do it for this example. So let's select the testers here. I could just select my existing group or click on here and add new people to there if you want to. And I can just save this. And now I have my tester group assigned to this. So now I could copy this link and then run this on my device, which is actually something that we can do right now because we have now our internal tester track created here. So if we go on Manage Release, we will be able to, take a look at that, but we could open this app bundle here as well. We can track our downloads here, and then we have internal app testing. If we go to downloads and we can copy shareable link, and now I can go to my Android device and, get that link into there. So let me prepare that for you real quick. Because sharing something from an iOS device to an Android is not that easy. So let's go to a website. Let's say here, there you go. Let's go to a website that's called drop.lol, and let's hope they work, because it says their SSL certificate just expired, which does not sound good. If not, I would have to manually type that URL, which I hope I don't have to, but maybe it seems like I have to. So that's a little bit of a hassle sometimes, but let's see, because I have a simulator here. So let's see how that will work to get it over here. Let's take a look at that quickly here. Let's take a look at the browser, or where did the browser go? There you go, Chrome. And let's see if I can get that somewhere inside of here. There you go. So let's see if I can go on my device here. And can I paste? Let's see. Oh yeah, I can paste. So, ooh, not found, error 404. It seems that I am not logged into my Google Chrome account here with the appropriate developer account. Let's take a look at that real quickly. What account is in here? Okay, I think I need to assign myself to that first. So let's go back to internal testing, testers. Let's go on our testers. And yeah, I am invited on that. So let's copy that link. And yeah, drop.lol is broken. So it is not that easy to get things across those devices. So, and that's a completely different link. So there you go. Let me type that manually. So let's do https / play. We need to invent something to get data from your Despia account to your Android, because that's a little bit of a process. But let's see. Google. Let's take a look. Google.com. Google.com. And we'll do / and we'll do apps / and then we'll do internal test. Internal test, actually, I'm already too far into it. Okay, internal test / I could actually just generate this as a QR code, but I'm afraid I don't have a QR code app on my device, so that is the best way to do this right now. Let's do 470. Okay, 089, and then 681, and then 981, 981, and then we do 282, 282, and then we do 848, 848, and then we do 6. Okay, and we'll go and go. And now, as you can see on my device, after typing out that URL manually, and I got this great tool that's called Visor that lets you kind of like screen share that so you can take a look at it. It will now say com.despia.profitdoc unreviewed. If you want to accept that invite, so I can go to accept invite here, and then I can go to download it on Google Play, and then I can go on install, and now I can install that application so I can test it myself, and you can share that link, and hopefully your users do not have to type that off. You can share that with your team to now test it on your device, and I can open that application. As you can see, I got my nice dock icon. I can allow notifications. I will go on OK, and now I got my application inside of here. And oh, I don't want to exit the app. I clicked on something wrong. But there you go. So now I got my application here beautifully working inside of there, and I can now test it on my device. So that's how simple that is. I got it right here on my device, as you can see. And you know, the hardest thing is typing off that URL if you're using an Apple computer and you try to get stuff into an Android. But there you go. It works beautiful. We got a nice focus. We got a nice UI going on here, and it looks beautiful. Fills out the whole screen. Works great. There you go. And you have all the native SDKs and features and all that. So we can get rid of this for now. And this is kind of like how you do the process of getting that all set up, getting that all bundled together. So now there are a few things actually that we need to still set up, but those are actually pretty simple. Now, let's say we want to get this application into the open testing, right? Because right now we have it installed on our device, but what if we want our beta users to test that application? For that, we could go to the initial upload, or we could go to open testing here, right? And we need to first complete the setup before we can move any further. So let's select some countries for our open test. Select countries, and I can go and add countries region, and I can just take all the countries. I'm saving that, and there you go. And now I can go back to the overview. There are some other things I need to set up. So let's go back to testing, and let's go with open testing. That's comparable to test flight, right? So the next thing will be create a new release. So I can create a new release here, and I don't want to create specifically a new release. I just want to promote my existing internal release, if I like this one, to be able for open testing. So I can go on promote release, and open testing. Let's take a look. Why doesn't it do open testing? Track already has a draft release. Okay, there you go. So in this example, we could promote it to production directly. So this is probably not the best idea. So in order to get a new release here, we would need to go to manage release. Let's take a look at that. And we have that app bundle. We have that deactivated app bundles. There you go. Track already has a draft release. Let's take a look at this one here. Delivery, install time. Okay, that's good. We can also track the downloads. We see that was just, the original file. We got also an APK. So for that, actually, promote release, we can't do it directly in here. We will need to then do that manually. Now, we will need to first remove that draft release that I accidentally created here, and then see if we can promote that. Let's try discard draft release. There you go. And then I should be able to go to internal testing, hopefully, and promote that to open testing. Take a look at that. That's kind of like the public one. In Android, you got to be careful. You click on things, they don't say confirm, are you sure? You just created that, and then you're like, oh, what's going on? But if you need any help with that, contact our support. We learn to deal with those things. And we're here to help you. We're super happy to help you. Thank you also for your trust and your time in watching this video, and for your interest. I really appreciate that. But let's promote this to open testing. And now I got that just import into open testing is the simplest way. You could change the signing key if you actually want to, but I wouldn't suggest to. And then, you can just go on next. And now we have a release available, and it will show us some errors. It will say your app cannot be published yet. And those warnings are fine. Warnings are like, okay, maybe think about it, right? They are, predominant when you do internal testing, because you need to put your privacy policy on the app. You need to tell Google if you're tracking users or not, and all that kind of stuff. So, this is kind of like, okay, you should take a look at those. So now when we create an open release, which is open to everyone who has that link to install the application, we have to have the same requirements actually, like if we were to publish it to the Play Store. So for that, we need to now go through those steps and go through our task list to, kind of like provide them all the information. So we need to set up a privacy policy. In this example, I can go https://despia.com. Put your privacy policy in here, but for this example, it's just example data. So let's save this and let's go back to the overview. We will now need to go back to the dashboard. They kind of like always redirect to the overview, but this is a little bit simpler to take a look at. We now need to continue with app access. All functionality in my app is available without any access restrictions, or some functionality in my app is restricted. In this example, yes, add instructions to help Google Play access the restricted paths. You can add up to 5 instructions. So we would now provide Google instructions on how they can actually log in if they want to test our application. So instruction name, login, username, we could provide a sample username like google@example.com, and then you can kind of like adjust your backend logic that if Google wants to log in, they can kind of like bypass some of your existing paywalls and system to kind of like test some of the application and all that. So if your app requires a password, let's do sample 123. There you go. So they need to be able to test that. So let's just put a note in there, just log in. And you want to make that as descriptive as possible. So, they kind of like get the chance to test your application before you create a public release. Any information? No information is required to access my app. Yeah, perfect. So now we can save this. So now they know how to get inside of our application, which helps them to test it. And now we need to configure if we're having ads. Now, this app does not have any apps, so no. We can save that, and then we can go back to the overview, go back to the dashboard, and then we need to submit a content rating. We will put our email address in here, like safety@despia.com, and then it is, all other types. I agree. Next. Does the app contain any violence? No. Answer those questions, as honest as you can. Let's save that. And then once you save it, you can go on next. So sometimes the next button is disabled and they're like, what's going on? Why can't I continue? You got to click on save first, and then the next button is able to be usable. It's sometimes a little bit weird, but let's save that. I hope your app built in Despia will have a better user journey than the Google Play Console. Let's select our target audience here, and that will be 18 and older. No, it's not any, restricted application. There you go, next, and save, and go back to the overview, and go back to the dashboard. Now we will, put in some data safety stuff. Let's go with the next steps. Does your app collect or share any of the user data types? Yes. Is all your user data collected in your app encrypted in transit? No. Which of the following methods of account creation does your app support? Username and password. There you go. Delete account URL. You will need to have a URL where users can delete their account. So I could do https://despia.com/delete. You need to have that in place for, I think it's European, policies. There you go. And now we can go on next. And, URL entered returned because it doesn't exist. But let's go on next. Okay. Make sure it's a real URL. Then location, if you're using Despia's background location SDK, and that is enabled in your application. You want to do precise location because we're really good at that. We give you precise and approximate. Let's go with the next one. Personal info, we will do name, email address, user IDs. That can be like the device ID, which Despia gives you access to. And that should be it. We can go on the next one, financial information. Right now we do not have anything, but if you take payments, maybe user payment info or purchasing history. You could have potentially purchasing history if you have in-app purchases, but I don't have that, so we're just going to skip that. Let's go with the next one, health and fitness. We're actually almost there. I think maybe by the time you watch this video, we could have it out there, or it would be very close to get it out there. We're actually adding Google Health to Despia, so you can access all their health information and write any health data. So in that example, you want to check both, but right now we don't have it yet. We're still working on it day and night. Messages, we're not having access to that. Photos, in this example, this application does not. Audio files does not. Calendar, and we can skip some of those things, and we can now go with next. Okay. There you go. Now we need to continue, kind of like telling them why we want to have approximate location. So let's start that. It's collected. It's collected. Yes, this collected data is processed ephemerally. That means accessing the data while it's only stored in memory. No, it's processed, we probably sent to the server. So there you go. The user can choose whether data is collected. Data collection is required. App functionality is probably the best way to, explain them this. So let's do collected. No, and it's for app functionality, and they can turn it off because the app needs to have that. This is not, and you need to save the draft here, right? And then in this example, let's show the personal info because we will need to continue with the assignment of the personal info. They got some weird UI. You take a look at that. Okay, this is expanded, but then you want to go next, and then you're like, no, I need to complete this too. So, sometimes you gotta look a little bit and figure out, okay, where do they want me to click now? But I hope this video makes it a little bit easier with that assignment process. It's easier with Apple because you can put that just in the entitlements files, and we do that for you, and it's not needed for testing. It's only needed for publishing the app, where you have to explain the entitlements we'll put in there. With Android, it's a little bit different. You need to kind of like certify that application yourself, but I hope that this video makes it easier for you. And if you have any questions about that process, or you don't know how to assign some things, contact our customer support. We're more than happy to help you. But now we will continue with that process. And once we're done with that process, there's some more important things that I want to show you that are very important. So don't skip any of those parts. It's quite crucial and quite important. So let's start. Just we'll just do this as default. It's always for app functionality, and no, they can't opt out of it, right? Just to make it a little bit quicker. No, we will set that to the server, and it's for app functionality. App functionality is the best way to explain why you're collecting data. Because they don't truly care. Google is collecting probably way more data about the users than you are. It's just that they need to know to certify those things, to put those things like on the app. Like, when you download an app, it says this app is tracking all your data and it's selling those data to people or something. It's fine to do it, but they just need to know. So let's go back on your dashboard here, and now the last thing will be government apps. In case you are building this for a government, you would say yes. In case you're not building this for a government, you would say no. There you go. Let's go back to the overview. And now the next step will be financial features. I'm not going to have any financial features in my app, but if you do, just answer those questions correctly. And there you go. We will save that certification. Then we go back to the dashboard. We'll continue with health. I'm not using, Despia Health, our health integration, so I will say no. Okay, and then we can go back to the overview. Now we're good with that. Select an app category and provide contact details. For this example here, we will need to go on edit, and we will put app. Yeah, and we will collect a category in this example, let's say education. We can save this and we can go back to the overview, and then we go back to the dashboard, and then we need to have some more information. We do an edit. The only thing required is an email address, but you could add your website if you want, or a phone number where people can call you, even though I would not do that because people will call you. Okay, we can close this now, and that should be it. And then you want to do this, advertise my app outside of Google Play. Yes, this is going to get you more users because Google will actually promote that app for you on their search engine and all that kind of stuff, which I would highly suggest. Now, they want you to set up your store listing. So you need to have a little short description and your full description and some graphics and all that kind of stuff. Now, that's a pretty daunting process. I don't want to bore you in uploading that and writing that, so we'll make a little magic cut. I'll fill those information in and I'll show you what I have filled in. So see you in a second. Now I uploaded all the information. As you can see, it's great because it will, improve the SEO and all of that. So I got my icon here, 512 by 512. Got a little banner designed. I uploaded some app screenshots. Keep in mind, you want to have at least more than 4, and you want to nicely design them to, to be able to be promoted and to be eligible for that. There's some content guidelines you can take a look right in here so they can showcase your app and you get better listings. And it's very important to get more users. But I just did really the bare minimum here, so I can click on save and I can get it out there. So let's go back to the overview, and now we can go back to the dashboard, and as you can see, under tasks, we completed the initial tasks. So now test your app with a larger group of testers. So inside of here, we want to select the countries for, we could do closed testing as well, but I do like open testing. So we're doing open testing, leave and discard. Okay, now we are compliant with most of the things. If we go back to open testing, remember how we moved our track inside of here. We can preview and confirm the release. Now there are 2 warnings. That is, your app cannot be published. Complete the steps listed on the dashboard. Let's take a look at that. Let anyone sign up to test your app. So we will need to complete that because that's the one that's expanded right now. We need to preview and confirm the release. Okay. Let's take a look. That's open testing, preview and confirm the release. There you go. Let's save that. I think it kind of like a little conflict because we have to save it and then it'll resolve itself. But now if we go back here, this track is paused. Testers resume the track to allow access to your app. So go to publishing overview. Let's take a look at that. 1 issue found, view issues, complete declaration. Incomplete advertising ID declaration. Okay, so does your app use advertising ID? This includes any SDK that your app imports. Yes, the underlying structure does that, and it's required for app functionality. Because we're about to release some great ad features into Despia, so we already have those dependency as part of it because we're still rolling them out, but the underlying structure of the framework already has those things enabled. It's not active, it's not tracking, but you do have that dependencies in there, so you need to provide that declaration. So let's go back to the overview, and I think that should resolve our issue. Let's take a look. Build excitement. Okay, so create and publish. So I think we're almost done with the process here. So let's go back to testing, open testing. Okay, because anyone can join that, so that's why I want to do open testing. So let's go to manage release, and in here we got that release not sent to review. Go to publishing overview. Okay, send 10 changes for review. So I think we're good with that. We can now send those changes to the review team. It can take up to 7 days to review this. It's now sent. We can dismiss this here. Running checks for commonly found issues. So it runs some checks. They use kind of like some algorithm or AI for that. But I think that should be good. And we can go back to test and release. We can go on open testing. and now we will see it's in review. This is our open test, and then when it is, in review, we will be able to get a link. So we should be able to go to testers, right? And then we can copy this link, join on Android. Testers can join, and using your app on Android. But right now, of course, when I open this, it will say something like this is in review. Oh, it is actually, ooh, look at that. So we already got it here. It will probably not allow us to do it yet because it's not eligible for install, right? Because it's still in processing, but you can take this link, share it with your people, and people can, download that sample from the store. And then once you're done and, that beta test was successful, it's very simple to move it now from being in here, into the store. So, once you got that published, you like that, you want to get it to the store. When you want to get it to the store, we want to, have that go through Despia's pipeline to make it nicer. So this is why I said don't skip the video yet, because there's some important things we still need to set up here. So let's go to users and permissions. And what we need to do in here is we need to go to this account that we have created, this Despia projects, right? This is the Despia v3 Android tutorial. That's the service account that we have created. We need to allow the service account, this is very, very important, to manage our application. So let's go to the service account, and right now it has not any permission to distribute any app on our behalf. So right now, we just have completed the bare minimum to get the application recognized by Despia. But if I were to build this again, it would not automatically send it to my Google Play. So I would have to download it again and manually edit, upload it again, which is a hassle. With Despia, we only need to do it the first place to get it registered. Now, the second time we want Despia to do that for us. So the way to easily do that, and to then also have an easier way to manage versioning and all that, what we need to do is we need to grant permission for this service account here. And if you're unsure which service account is the right one, if you have many ones, you will take a look after the ad. You'll see this name. If you take a look at Despia and you go to publish app, you will see this name inside of here. And then you can see it right inside of here, so you can see, right? So we need to give this now permission to ideally all our applications, right? So let's select that and let's apply, and let's apply that, and let's save the changes. Now, the latest application is not part of this, so let's refresh the page because they're a single page application, and I assume we don't have everything refreshed. So let's add, there you go, Profit Doc to it as well, and we need to apply that. One thing to note is it does not automatically add those like with Apple. So when you create a new application in Despia and you want to use your existing service account that's linked for the CI/CD pipelines, you will need to go to let's save the changes first though. You will need to go to your Google Play console, users and permission, select that service account. There you go. This one here. If you're unsure, you can compare what's after the at. That name should match with the development team that's in your Despia one-click modal here. And then, oops, you want to go inside of here and add that application that you want, Despia to automatically publish for you as an internal testing track. So now with that being, added in here for Profit Doc, and you want to add that for any future applications that you create with the same account, so just note to follow that step again. We can just go now and go back to our home, leave and discard, and we can go to Profit Doc, and we can now take a look at testing, and we can take a look at internal testing. Now we see this is the initial upload that we have created manually. But now we can actually have Despia send those programmatically to the Google Play Store, and it's super simple. So what you need to do is you just need to go to Despia and run this whole process again, because we have followed the step, we have downloaded and uploaded it, right? And then if we double check our integration, we need to make sure that we're logged in on the correct account. It should say API enabled. That's a good sign. So now we can just publish our app again. We can publish again. Now it's going through the process, and it can take up to, an hour. And then if we will take a look at our Google Play Console, we will see that Despia will be adding that application autonomously in there. We do not have to download the AIB and upload it manually ever again. It will automatically put it on there as a draft, meaning as an internal testing app that you can then promote to production in this example if the, open test was successful. So this is kind of like how you can work with that process, and we make it very simple for you to manage that. So now I'm making a little bit of a cut because it can take a little bit for it to completely process, and then we'll take a look at that for you in a second. So see you in a second. So now I got good news, it successfully published it. And as you can see in the Despia dashboard right here, this widget disappeared. Hey, let's get your initial setup going, right? So because now we have uploaded the AAB, the Android app bundle, manually to the store, right? And it is registered now. We have provided all the information that they need. It now, every time we click on publish application and we're publishing the project to Google Android, it will directly send it to the store without the need to download the Android app bundle, that file manually, and upload it again. So you will only have to do that one time in order to get it synced based on, that they're not like Apple, having you register the bundle ID, but they take the bundle ID from the app file, which is, kind of like a different process, but it's still simple and it's way more complicated if you're not using Despia or trying to, publish that yourself. So we do lots of that heavy lifting from the key store to the publishing process to managing your integrations and all that for you. And you can then actually, go and manage here, and you can actually track and kind of like see the metrics of, what Despia is doing with this, right? And all that kind of stuff. So there you go, and you could, take a look at your quotas and all that. But we do that all for you, so you don't have to deal with Google's dashboards. We do that all automatically. No terminal needed, nothing. We run that terminal for you. But there you go. That is now beautifully set up. So we can still click on here and download the AIB if you want that, but you do not need to, because now if we go back to our Google Play Store on internal testing, right, you open your application, right? Let's do that together one more time. Practice makes perfect. Let's go on View App, right? We open our application, we go on Test and Release, and this is kind of like the equivalent to Test Flight. We're going to go on Testing, Internal Testing. This is where your draft will be. And now as you can see, this was sent by Despia as a draft autonomously to your account through the service account and through the initial application that you have already created based on that AAB, because that's where it gets the bundle ID. That's how it registers that in their system. So you need to set that up the first time manually, upload that file manually first time, and then of course have your service account configured, and then from there we'll do it for you. So now I can take a look at the summary, but I can now go on Edit Release, and I can just go on Next. It's one click from here, and now there you go. We got that all set up. We can take a look at the warnings. You need to add a physical address into your account details. We can ignore that for now. And then another one is your bundle contains native code and you've not uploaded debug symbols. We recommend you upload debug symbols, a debug symbol file, to make your crashes and Rs easier to analyze. Now you can skip that. That does not mean anything. We're improving our debugging system, but right now we just have that left out. So that's something that you can configure, but it's not really needed. But we're adding more features to kind of like allow you to have a little bit better, control of if your app crashes or not and all that. But then, our challenge will be balancing that with some data compliance and all that kind of stuff. So we do like the idea that Despia is GDPR friendly. So we want to touch as less as possible user information. Right now we don't touch anything, so we will not provide a cloud structure for you to set that up, but we will probably open that up a little bit so you can kind of like easily integrate some solutions for that to, so you can kind of like get test reports and crash reports and see what do they do before it crashes. But that will be something that we will definitely take a look at adding into the future. But right now you can just ignore that. It's not relevant because it is not an issue. It's just a warning. It's like a tip. Hey, do that. Or we suggest you do this. But right now, as you can see, it's actually pretty small. size for updates, and then, size for installs. It's pretty small, and it will take 4 seconds to download. And that's the beautiful thing about Despia. It's super lightweight, but very performant. Let's go on save and publish. And now we have published this as an internal testing. There you go. So now, you can go on manage release again, and you can open your bundle here, and you can go on downloads, and then you can copy that shareable link with your team. You could also, download the APK if you want to make that available, or you could download the Android app bundle if you want. So you can copy that shareable link. Again, we know this process, open it on your Android device, which is, a little bit of a hassle now. But we'll probably build a little tool where you can, you can kind of like share that easily through your network connection. We'll come up with something cool to make that process a little bit simpler, but copy that code. You could now, text that code or WhatsApp that code to yourself and open that, and you've saw that right before, where you can then go to the Play Store, install, test your application again, exactly like TestFlight if you're already familiar with the iOS process. And that's it. And then once you like this, right, for internal testing, you can then take this and promote the release to production, meaning sending it to the store. If I were to click on production right now, I would just, I already have the store information configured. I would then just be able to click on next, and now it would move it to the production folder, and there's one error with production. No countries or regions have been selected for this track. And then, you will just go on learn more, you'll take a look at their documentation, and you will need to configure this, right? So to save fixed errors, we would need to warnings that can be ignored. So we will need to, kind of like assign that. So when we go to production here, we will need to go to countries and regions, add countries and regions, add them, follow the instructions, go back to the overview, and then we can go back to test and release, go on testing, and we go to our internal testing. This was the one autonomously sent from Despia to the account directly with our beautiful and simple to use integration. Promote the release. It's already in the production bucket, so I just have to go to production, releases. You will see it inside of here. We go on edit release, and now I can go on next, and now it will do the final process. And there you go. I can save this, and now I'm good to go. And now it will be sent to change. Your change has been saved. To send it to review, go to the publishing overview. We go to the publishing overview, and now we can send those 5 changes to the Google Play review to hopefully get that application on the Google Play Store. Right now, that application doesn't have any functionality, but to be fair, the things that I have seen that were successfully submitted to the Google Play Store that have been, like, the user started the app yesterday and they have been accepted, I would not be surprised if this will be accepted by their app review team, because they have completely different quality standards compared to Apple. But let's say worst case, it will not be it will not be accepted. That it will be probably because Android will say, we don't like this, or please change this. You listen to what they tell you. You will change your UI accordingly, add that menu bar, which I don't even think is required with Android. I've seen some terrible stuff on the store that is still on there and was recently published, not with Despia, right? Every user with Despia has as high quality standards as we have, but just in general. So I said with the, with the iOS video, you want to do this with Android. I don't even think they mind if you take payments outside of their payment system. At least lots of apps are doing that. So now, worst case would be they want you to use your payment system, which I don't think Android is that picky about it, to be quite frank. But quite frankly, worst case, let's say, they like making money, and the only thing I could really imagine be rejected on the Google Play Store, on the Android store, will be if you take payments outside of their system. They don't like that, and they say, hey, please update your build to, add in-app purchases with our system so we can get the commission. What you would do, you would make that update, go and publish again, publish your application with Despia, right? You will know where to find it. You will know that if you go to the Google Play console, play.google.com, you would be able to, go to test and release, go on testing. You will find it on internal testing right here. And then you can promote that internal test to production, right? And then you will go on next, and then you will this is just please does not add or remove any bundle, because I'm just trying to publish the same thing again. But you would then go to your release, and you would release your version again, and then you will say to the review team, hey, I just fixed it, check out the new release, and then they'll approve your app and have it on the Google Play Store. And if you have any questions with that, please click on Get Free Expert Help or contact our support. We're more than happy to help you, walk you through the process, resolve any issues you may have with the Google App Review team or with that process. If something is unclear, please let us know. We're happy to help, and yeah, we'll get your application successfully on there. We're here to help. You're not alone in that process. Just know that. And if you need anything, you can't bother us. Send us as many messages as you want. Sometimes especially if you're new to it, especially with Android, iOS is a little bit simpler. With Android, there are some things that you're like, what the heck is going on here? If you're ever stuck, if you're ever frustrated with any of that parts of that process, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you get that resolved as soon as possible to get your beautiful application on the App Store and into the hands of millions of users. But one thing I'm going to show you real quick, since we're already there. Now I have 2 releases here in production, and one is in review and one is in draft, and I don't want that one in draft. I can just discard draft release. That's how you do that. It'll save you lots of trouble. But right now it's in review, so the review team is reviewing it. It can take up to a week. I would probably, even for that shitty application right now, which is literally without any functionality, just a screen, I may actually get that approved. If not, of course, because they said maybe, you need to have some sort of functionality into it. But Android is way more cooler about that than iOS. But, Despia gives you this great foundation that compiles thousands of files together to give you all native functionality, not just for iOS, but also for Android. So you have everything you need to build great Android applications. And, the good thing about that is they're not that picky when it comes to layout, UI, and when it comes to, like how your app looks. But of course, you still want to build a great application with our native integrations, native features that work also beautifully and seamlessly for Android, because Despia is a hybrid framework. But again, if you have any questions, please contact our support. We're more than happy to help you. Thank you so much for your interest and for your time in watching this video. Thank you so much for considering Despia. I really appreciate that. Or if you already are using Despia, thank you so much for your trust. Thank you so much for your decision. I really appreciate that. And I and the team are here to help you. Thank you so much. And we can't wait to see what you're building with it.